guys, and in today's video we are going to be upgrading our Biopellet Reactor. Now I currently use a Two Little Fishies PhosBan 150 reactor, which was modified to make it tumble biopellets better. What we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to modify this 550 reactor, which is a bigger reactor, plus the bottom of the reactor has a more of a cone shape, which will assist in tumbling the biopellets a little bit better. If you notice in the sump I have a magnet which kind of props up the biopellet reactor to an angle to help tumble the biopellets more efficiently. But with this reactor design, I won't have to do that. Plus I can hold tons and tons more, at least double, triple the amount of biopellets in there, which the chances of me actually using that many are very, very slim, but I would like the ability to add more down the road if I so choose. So let's go ahead and get in the box here and see what we got. All right, so paperwork, directions on how to put it together. Now the reactor itself is much bigger. I will do a comparison here in a little while. All the various plumbing parts that you'll need, connections to hook it up to your piping, which will be definitely very helpful. Plus, it's always good to have extra of these rubber pieces around, because eventually, after use and use, you'll start getting a little crack here on that elbow, and it's good to have the extra around. So I'm glad I got those. Of course, the ball valve and the zip ties, and also the tube clamp there, which is awesome. That way I can adjust the flow on the reactor. So we're going to set all this aside. Let's get into the inside of this reactor here. So what I particularly like about this design is that, if you know, on the 150 you have all the plumbing and stuff coming through the top of the reactor. This is awesome that it doesn't have that. The O-ring is all intact. What you have is this little nozzle that comes out. I'm just going to take all this out. Now this little piece here allows you to select what side you want the input. So you can have either side can be the input depending on how you want to plumb it. This will most likely be the input. That way it comes out of the actual manifold and then goes in that way, and then it will loop back in and go into the protein skimmer. So, but that's what I like about it, is that you can just decide what you want, and it's very easy to manipulate. I don't know if you can see, I guess you can a little bit see how it has a little bit of an angle at the bottom there. It's like a cone shape. It's definitely going to allow the biopellets to tumble more efficiently. So I'm definitely excited for that. That means I won't have to put as much flow through the reactor to get the tumbling effect that I want. Now, what we're going to do here is do a little bit of a modification to make this work. So my plan for modification is to essentially have this in at this angle, leaving it open at the bottom, allowing just the water to come out with any interference. No screens to go through, no mesh, no nothing. This will allow the biopellets to tumble down here, and then the flow will go up through. So basically what we need to do is get this down as low as we can, and then bridge the gap between this and the input. So let's get into the modification. We're kind of just going to wing it, because I haven't done it before on this, so we're just going to do it as we go here. So let's get into that. Alright, the next thing we want to do is we want to modify our inlet screen / tube here to make it reach the bottom and still allow it to connect to the input here. So what I've chosen to use is a piece of pipe from one of my old sponge filters. Basically it's the pipe that comes in up and down, which has the little nozzle on the end that returns back to the tank. But actually it fits perfectly inside here. I'm going to add a little bit of super glue to make sure it stays in place, but it's actually pretty good and pretty much extends the pipe. So what we're going to do is go ahead and set this inside here real quick, just for now. What I want to do is I want to add the input nozzle just to get a general idea of how where this pipe really sits in here. Alright, I wanted this to be at an angle where you guys could see it a little bit better. So the main goal is to get it off the bottom just enough so that the flow will be good enough and still move the biopellets efficiently. So we have to just make a cut on this tube. So we just have to determine where that's going to be. I'm thinking 1/2 inch off the bottom is what my goal is. So I'm going to go ahead and make a mark on this little pipe right here. And then I'm going to make the cut, and we'll come back and put everything together. Alright, so we finished our cut there on the tube extension. So let's go ahead and put everything together real quick and just do a test fit. Put our 90-degree on. Okay. It's probably not going to stay very well just because it's kind of loose on here, but we're going to get a general idea of how well it fits. Put the input connection. And we're just looking for height right now. We're not looking for it to be very even or centered. We're just kind of looking for the height. And that looks good to me. See how it's just a little bit off the bottom there, about ½ an inch or so. That's perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it at that. So let's get into gluing everything together so it's a little bit more stable. And we'll see how all that works out. Okay, so now we're gonna glue on our tube extension here. Just gonna use some gel super glue. Put it on the edge. All right. Just twist it a little bit. Alrighty, so that one looks good to go. We're just going to give it a few minutes to dry, and we should be all set. Okay, now that everything's glued together, I went ahead and put the zip ties on the 90-degree elbow there to make sure it stays in place. So now it's time to work on the input. I'm going to take this opportunity to replace the hose coming off the manifold with this new one. So let's go ahead and put the ball valve on. So I've chosen to use this side as the input, and obviously this is going to go to the skimmer, so this will be the output. What I'm going to do is we're just going to install this real quick. It comes with that black hose. You just put it on the ball valve, put it in place. Cut it to whatever size you choose, whatever works for you. And I'm going to go ahead and add a zip tie to it to make it, just in case it becomes loose, which usually isn't the case, but we're going to do it anyways. Cut that off there. Alright, so the ball valve is good to go. I'm going to go ahead and add our pipe. Once we get over to the manifold, I will adjust this and cut it to size. I don't want to cut it right now until we get over there. So let's go ahead and put everything together so you get a good idea what it looks like. So I'll give you an idea of what it looks like on the inside there. The distance off the bottom, okay? Everything's good to go. So let's get over to the 125 and we will disconnect the other reactor and come out here and put everything together, all right? Okay, the first thing we want to do is turn off the manifold here, stop flow to the reactor. I'm going to go ahead and just take the reactor out, and then we're going to cut the tubing here to make room for the new stuff. So we're just going to go ahead and disconnect all these elbows, disconnect the skimmer, and I'm just going to pour this water back into the sump here. Alright, that's good to go. So now we got to remove this input pipe. So this goes to the skimmer itself, so we have this main pipe here that I want to replace. So basically I'm just going to go ahead and cut where the barb fitting is and pull that piping out. Alright, so that is good to go. So this time we can just toss this and use all the new equipment. So let's get over and put all the new biopellets in the reactor and come back here and get everything put together. Alright, real quick, I went ahead and rinsed everything to make sure it was clean before we got started. We're just going to go ahead and take the old biopellet reactor apart. As you can see, there's definitely a huge size difference in these two reactors. Also, you can see this bacteria buildup is insane. I'm hoping with the extra room, I won't have to use this screen, which will, this end here will not clog nearly as often. So it'll be much easier to clean as well. So we're going to go ahead and toss this to the side. And we're just going to pour in the new old biopellets in the new reactor. Forget the noise. Alright, looks like you got 99% of them out. Sorry for all the noise. Alright, set that to the side. As you can see, it doesn't use up very much of the reactor, but that's all good. So we're going to go ahead and install the new piping. Just going to wiggle down in there. Install it in the input fitting. Alright. It's good to go. That will adjust once the water starts going through it. Install the cap. Make sure it's nice and snug. Things up a little bit just to adjust. Alright, looks good. So let's get over to the sump and install this real quick before the biopellets have any issues from being exposed too long. Okay, let's get this biopellet reactor installed. Just a quick overview. This is the input with the ball valve, alright? And then the output here, which you won't be able to see me actually install that, but here's the output to the skimmer, or the input to the skimmer, output of the reactor. So let's go ahead and install everything real quick. I'm going to connect the skimmer. Alright, that's good to go. Now we just have to add our new piping there. I already cut a piece that seemed like it would fit, so we're just going to install that on our manifold here. Alright, and then go ahead and install that piece on the reactor itself. Alright, so let me give you a quick zoomed in shot there. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn it on and see how it works. I'm just going to go ahead and turn the flow off on this real quick so we can adjust it as we get started. Okay, everything is hooked up, so let's go ahead and turn the manifold back on and test to see how the new reactor works. So let's turn the manifold on, the reactors kick in, and let's adjust here. Looks like it's filling up. Start off slow, try not to blow the biopellets all over the place. Auto top off will have to kick in here to adjust for all the extra water that's in the reactor. Good so far. Turn the flow up a little bit. Alright guys, real quick, I wanted to show you an up-close view of the biopellets tumbling in the reactor. Now they're not tumbling as much as I would like them to. The reason for that is I run a DC6000 which powers 3 reactors plus the main display, and it's only a 1500 gallon per hour pump. It's really not a lot of flow, but fortunately I'm in the process of getting this DC15000, which will be more than enough flow for this tank and anything that I ever add to it. So down the road we'll be installing that and adjusting the flow here in the reactor. But other than that guys, this works perfect. There's no leaks and it is awesome. I definitely like the upgrade. Now if you have any questions, let me know. As always, I appreciate you watching the videos. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Later.